All right. Thank you, ILO. It is Chris and Rob, the Odd Couple, live from the TireRack.com studios. Our next guest, friend of the show, does a fantastic job covering the NBA for Yahoo Sports. Also, check him out on the Good Word podcast, Rob Parker's former nephew, our man, Vincent Goodwill. Vinny, what's up?
Vinny.
Chris and Rob, how y'all doing?
What's up, buddy?
Man, we are great. We are great. Good
we
to
still
have
family,
you on.
Vinny. You know that. We family, my man, always.
Vinny like, yo, please.
Hey, don't be saying that out loud. That might get me in trouble with my actual family.
Now I'm pseudo. You heard that his actual family.
I know.
We were family by marriage. That's it, Vinny. That's it.
I got an answer to that woman. You don't.
All right, Vinny, let's get to it. We got to you late, unfortunately. But let's start with we saw that was Shaq was on your podcast. Now, there's these memes going around, right, about the done with the 90s, right? That's basically saying the 90s basketball wasn't all that good. And you talked to Shaq about it. Tell me how that conversation went.
Well, Shaq just thought it was humorous. And he basically said, hey, when I was coming up, I didn't think Wilt Chamberlain meant anything. And if you look at the time difference, some of these kids are not going to look at me that way. He took a humorous sort of tack to it. I think it is a disrespect. And I think, unfortunately, basketball is the one sport where it feels like the eras just go against each other. It's not appreciation. It's not even comparing it as far as
Vinny, I agree with that. I think that's spot on.
It's disrespect. It's disrespect, and I don't like it. And I don't know if it's the kids that are doing it or if the old people be hating or whatever it is, but I don't like it, and I feel like it contributes to a lot of the bad basketball culture that we see today. That it sort of seeped down, to the younger kids and everything else. And I think it's like a warning sign for the future, to be perfectly honest. I'm really concerned about the future of the game.
Let me ask you this quickly, Rob.
I think Vinny's on to something, Chris.
No,
I really
agree. Do you? I would think a lot of that's probably related to the GOAT debate between Jordan and LeBron. And those on LeBron's side are trying to rip the 90s, and those on Jordan's side are ripping today's game. Do you think that's fair?
I think it stems with a lot of that, but I think the GOAT debate was settled a long time ago, to be perfectly honest. You know what I mean? Like when LeBron wets the bed in 2 straight critical playoff series in his MVP prime, like ain't no coming back from that.
That's you. We hear you, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that's created a lot of the acrimony because it's just
Well, they have no other leg to stand on, so they have to because of Michael Jordan 6-0, 6 MVPs, and all that. They got to now demolish when he played in order to justify. Do you understand what? Like this is contrived. This is the 90s were no good. No wonder, Michael, he didn't play anybody. The teams were bad. Not all this other stuff. Forget about that. He kept 10 Hall of Famers from winning a championship during his era. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to hear any of that. It's contrived to me. It's ridiculous.
I think more than anything else, it's a lot of different elements. It's like a pie. I think the biggest piece of the pie is that these guys, these kids, they want their own sort of space to talk about something. You know what I mean? Like they want their guy, and to say that they were here to watch their guy come from 3-1, to watch their, you know what I mean? And they don't want to hear, our stories. And I ain't that old. And, you got people sitting, so we're calling me old and out of touch. Like, I'm trying to figure out.
How you old, Vinny? My God.
Get they basketball PhDs. You know what I mean? Like, they just, it's a weird, it's a disrespect. It's weird. And when you tell them, hey, we were there, we saw it, it's like literally like we don't have the right eyes or something for it because they clearly have the knowledge that we don't.
Are you mentioned that you're concerned about the future of the game. Vinny, if Joel Embiid wasn't hurt, the top 5 MVP candidates would be international players.
Yes.
So that, what about that aspect of the future of the game? Americans, this will be, to me, when we send over Durant, LeBron, Steph, and all those guys for these Olympics, this will be the last time that we can just say, okay, we about to shut this down.
And they still might get mopped up. They still might get mopped.
We'll see, but
Chris,
you know what I mean? Like, I think going forward, after this group, and Rob's got a point. I mean, they going to have to play well to win. But after this group, I mean, we certainly won't dominate the Olympics anymore. So tell me, is that a concern to you? Or really, is it around the league, privately, are people wondering and looking at, man, the international players are coming over here and busting us up?
I think it is a concern. I think when you look at the American public, when you look at the average fan, if there's a player whose name they can't pronounce or someone who maybe doesn't speak, the King's English in that way, it's harder to connect. You know what I mean? And there have been some guys who break through, like Giannis has sort of broke through in the lexicon, in part because he's gone out of his way to be Americanized. And that has endeared himself to a lot of people. Somebody like Jokic, who was eating off of all of the equity that the older generations have put in, but hasn't actually put anything into promoting the game or leaving something behind. Like, that's where I think there's going to be, or there could be, a possible disconnect. But you're right. We haven't had an American MVP since 2017 with James Harden. Ever since then, it's been international MVPs. And not that, I don't think like racism is necessarily the word, but it's definitely a tribalism with fans. And I think, the NBA has gone out of its way to make itself an international game because maybe they've reached a limit as far as what they could do domestically with money and everything else. And what's happened is the grassroots basketball has been left behind, and you've left it to their own devices, and kids are playing 7-8 games a day. And the stars that you thought were going to come down the pipeline, like Zion Williamson, like Ja Morant, their careers haven't panned out the way that we've expected it to. Those are supposed to be the torchbearers for the future. And there's not even, if you think about it, in this upcoming NBA draft, can you name a top 5 player that you was like, man, I remember I'm watching him play, and I think the NCAA tournament is going to open some eyes. There's no guy like that out there, and we're just looking towards the international game to grow it. And I think we're in a bad spot. I think you look at the All-Star game where guys don't defend each other because they're afraid of what's going to happen on Instagram. That filters down to high school players where nobody wants to get crossed over, no one wants to get dunked on, which means nobody wants to try hard. These dudes are afraid to try, which means they're really afraid to be stars or really afraid to what goes into being a star.
That's our man, Vinny Goodwill, Yahoo Sports
well said,
NBA
Vinny.
writer. Check him out on the Good Word podcast. Good stuff, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, Trash Talking Tuesday is now.
All right, Chris, let's kick it off with Susan. In Florida, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, Susan?
I'm trashing Mr. Ben Maller.
Ben Maller, wow. Okay.
Yes, I am. He called Lamar Jackson when they didn't get into the Super Bowl the Prince of Puke, which I thought was disgraceful. And then he called Russell Wilson a polished turd. I think it's just, I don't like that. There wasn't any need for that. So.
Okay.
All right.
There we go, Susan. There you go. Right? Trash up Ben Maller. Appreciate that. Raphael in Orlando. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, Raphael? Raphael, is he in Orlando, Rob G, or we got the wrong guy? Okay. Titan Barber in Nashville. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing?
I want to trash Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, you're dead to me. No,
who is this, Tiki Barber?
No, I'm kidding. Derrick Henry, we love you here. It's good to see you go somewhere to get a chance to win an NFL title. I do want to trash, however, the Baltimore Ravens for always stealing our players, from Steve McNair to Derek Mason, now to Derrick Henry. Come on, man.
All right. Okay. There you go. Okay. The Titan Barber in Nashville, Chris. Very nice. Yeah. Joe in South Dakota. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, Joe?
Guys, I'm trashing Joe Mixon. 7 years of very, very slightly above average running back play at a position that isn't paid well to begin with. We could have gone with someone much even lower paid than him and been fine. You did your time. You were good with us, but you were never great. You're certainly not good enough to get us to a Super Bowl. Glad to see you go.
Wow, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon not in the mix, Chris. How's that? Yeah. Trucker Don in Boston. Trucker Don, who you trashing? There you go.
Hey, guys.
How are
Best
you?
show on the radio. Thanks for taking my call.
We appreciate
Thank you,
that.
my man. We appreciate that for sure.
All this politics talk from Aaron Rodgers or retiring or not retiring, I just want to trash Aaron Rodgers and his probable apparent new business manager, Brett Favre. Yeah. I think he's his advisor. So,
Hey, Trucker Don, I'm coming to Boston. I'm going to be up there next Tuesday.
Oh, awesome. I'd love to be up there to visit with you, especially if you're going to do some comedy. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, now you know what?
I actually agreed with you tonight.
No, you wouldn't. Trust me.
And you know what, Chris? They might think it's comedy once I'm on the panel up at Harvard. They might be like, oh, this guy's a comedian. Yes. All right, thank you.
Oh, that's true for sure. Thanks, guys.
Yes. Yep. Stay well and be safe on the roads. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
How about
you.
Ken in Stockton, California? You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, Ken?
The Atlanta Falcons. Who are they thinking that Kirk Cousins is? Aaron Rodgers? Who do they think he is? Patrick Mahomes? Come on, give him that much money and it ain't going to help the Falcons. And I'm a hypocritical of the NFL who 2 years ago said the running backs were dogs, and now look at them paying the running backs. What's that all about, Rob?
All right, Ken in Stockton, California. Appreciate it. MJ in New Orleans. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, MJ?
I'm trashing Gilbert J. Arenas Jr., a.k.a. Agent Zero, the evil brainchild of the fanboys of LeBron, to start this ridiculous week two with the 90s NBA basketball, and Jordan had no left hand. Jordan had the ultimate dunk and layup package. Just can't figure out how these guys are just being so disrespectful to 10 years of NBA basketball just because LeBron is and never will be the GOAT like Michael, Jeffrey, Jordan, a.k.a. Air Jordan, a.k.a. Black Jesus, a.k.a. the 45-degree dunk in the air. They need to stop it, quit it, and stop the cap. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
All
you know,
right.
It's always funny, Chris, when I'm in the barbershop and arguing with guys, and they're LeBron guys, but then you look down on their feet, they're all wearing Jordans.
Right,
I think
the shoes aren't even close.
Am I right? Like, not even. I think it's comical, but they're making their case for LeBron. I'm like, what are you wearing? Why don't you wear his shoes?
Right.
Oh, I'm not. That ain't got nothing to do with anything. Ain't got nothing. Gary in Houston, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. Who you trashing, Gary?
Jordan was not rusty in 95 against the Magic. He only played 17 games. He played 18 games in year two and was awesome in the playoffs. If Jordan was rusty in 95, was he also rusty in 92 against the Knicks when he put up similar stats? Was Jordan rusty in 87 against the Celtics when he shot 41%? Even the year prior, he shot 50%. It's funny how rust and late game execution at no point was an issue prior to the second round. Those only became issues when they lost to the Magic. Funny how that works. People only say he was rusty because they don't want to admit the Bulls were never going to beat the Magic, and they definitely weren't going to beat the Rockets. Saying Jordan's rusty ultimately discredits those two teams.
All right. He said it fast to get his point in there, Rob.
Yeah, Gary, he knows how to beat the clock, for sure.
Right.
It is all good.